setting of proper motivation, which consists of 3 parts. Visualizing the refuge field, visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and how you visualize them. They are like your very affectionate parents, and you are the child. You come home demoralized from being bullied by the children in the school, and your parents are there to give full love, affection, attention, and embrace. And the Bodhicitta field, visualize your 2 kind parents, and all your family members, and all dear mothers and sentient beings, leaving them aside. And here in this case, you are the mother, and all others are like your children. They come home demoralized, and you are there to give full love, affection, attention, and so forth, to the extent that each one of them feels themselves as so special in your eyes. And the purpose of this practice, purpose of this class, as the Buddha indicated, 1, the ultimate source of happiness is within each one of us. Yet, why we are unhappy, if this ultimate source of happiness within us, is that this source is obscured by the mental defilements. And the mental defilements is of 2 kinds, the gross and the subtle. And the gross ones reflect in the form of contaminated karmas, such as the 10 non-virtuous actions, triggered by the afflictive thoughts, afflictions, such as attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth, which in turn are all rooted to the self-grasping ignorance. As long as we have the self-grasping ignorance, there is offshoots in the form of afflictions, contaminated karmas are bound to happen, through which the miseries, unending miseries, will ensue. So the best way by which to eradicate these miseries is by cutting the ultimate root of this, which is the self-grasping ignorance, which in turn can be eradicated through the wisdom of emptiness. So the wisdom is so much emphasized in the Buddha's teachings, 1. Then number 2 is the subtle stains, mental stains, which obscure us from achieving Buddhahood. So these stains, given that they are stains of the self-grasping ignorance, and the special driving force, the bodhicitta, the unconditional love should be the driving force to reinforce this wisdom of emptiness, to eradicate even the subtlest of the stains of the mind, so that one's mind experiences what is known as the omniscience. So with that in mind, say your parents, your family members, and all dear sentient beings, imagine, although they are not with us physically here, imagine that out of compassion, out of love for them, you bring them in your visualization to make sure that they also get the share of this practice and this lesson. And you are leading this, group, and all beings are joining you. Let's turn to page 7 of the prayer book. Page 7 of the prayer book. I hope you all have this book. Okay, anyone else who didn't get the book? Page 7. From the bottom. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sanje Joda Soge Chonamda, Chanju Bardo Dane Gyapsuch, Age Jinso Gebe Sonamge, Dola Benjir Sanje Rubaresho, Sanje Joda Chanju Bardo Dane Gyapsuch, Age Jinso Gebe Sonamge, Dola Benjir Sanje Rubaresho, Sanje Joda Soge Chonam. Chanju Bardo Dane Gyapsuche, Dage Jinso Gebe Sonam, Dola Benjir Sanje Rubaresho. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of causes as well as taught by the great seer. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Vati Mahashramana Yeswaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Evam Vati Mahashramana Yeswaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavatat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramana Yeswaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes is taught by the great seer. Page 17. Page 17. Page 17. 17. House of the mantra. As we recite the mantra, imagine that the Buddha Shakyamuni is exhorting us thus: don't remain in the fears of samsara. Come towards the ultimate happiness by eradicating all the mental defilements, mental stains, and discover ultimate source of happiness, ultimate treasure of happiness within you. And you hearing this melodious voice of the Buddha Shakyamuni, you are so happy. You then inform this to all your family members, including your two companions, and all dear sentient beings, informing them that, look, this is what a compassionate teacher Buddha Shakyamuni is telling us, not to remain in fears of samsara anymore, and let us all go towards ultimate happiness. And all dear sentient beings, they happily join you as you lead this recitation of the mantra. Tiyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Swaha. 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 Tiyata Om Gati Gati Bhagavate Bodhi Swaha. Okay, now let's do 5 minutes meditation. Minutes. Okay, ready? For the meditation, very quickly, those of us who are already familiar with meditation, you can do whatever meditation that you're doing, you're more keen on. And those of us who are new, perhaps the breathing meditation would be good. For the breathing meditation, there are 4 things to keep in mind. One is the body posture. So the most important thing is the body should be upright. And yet should not be rigid. It should be flexible. Body should be upright and flexible. 1. And the eyes should not be closed. Eyes should be half open, 45 degrees cast down, and the tip of the tongue should touch the upper palate to avoid excessive accumulation of saliva in the mouth. Then your right hand on your left hand, and the tips of the 2 thumbs joining, forming a triangle. Place the 2 hands on your laps in a restful state and breathe naturally. This is body posture. Number 2 is focal point, what we're going to meditate on. So here, so those of us who are more beginners with meditation, the breathing meditation would be very helpful. You focus the mind on the circular dot, 1 mm or 2 mm in diameter, at a place between your nose and the upper lip. While you focus your mind there, multitasking, count your breath, breathe in, breathe out, cycle 1, breathe in, breathe out, cycle 2. This is what we're going to count for the next 5 minutes. And in some cases, it can be the 60 counts. For others, it could be 70 cycles, depending on the length of your own breath. Sometimes, for some, it can be 100. It depends on the length of the breath. Then number 3 and number 4 are very important. Number 3 is identifying the areas of meditation. Areas of meditation, twofold. One is mental excitement. Mental excitement is when your mind starts to scatter, getting distracted here and there, is one error. And the other error is when your mind becomes very lethargic, heavy, sinking, inserviceable. So should any of these 2 happen, we need to apply the remedies. And the remedies are two kinds: introspection and mindfulness. Introspection is to keep an eye on your own mind, to see that your mind is not distracted or not lax. And once you see that your mind, by the power of the introspection, you see that your mind is distracted or in a lax state, then you apply the second remedy, which is mindfulness, to bring the mind back to the intent of your meditation. So this is what we're going to do for the next 5 minutes. Okay. Ready? Okay, stanza 2 and 4. What we've been discussing thus far. So as we recited the mantra, Tyatom Gade Gade Paragade Parasam Gade Bodhiswaha. So there we see the initial starting point Gade and the end point Bodhiswaha. So this clearly indicates the journey. It clearly indicates the journey of the mind. And journey of mind of ours. Journey means there should be a starting point and there's an end point. Journey means a starting point and an end point. Our starting point is where we are. Where we are. This is where we have to, from where we have to start the journey. And then through a process, then we reach the end point. So this journey, unlike the other journeys, this is a mental journey. Gati gati paragati parasamgati bodhiswaha. So the meaning, as can be seen, is the literal meaning: go beyond, go utterly beyond, and establish your enlightenment, establish your ultimate happiness. So there, we see that if you look at the day-to-day environment, day-to-day life, we see that some people, they're more resilient to the challenges, and some people, they are easily affected, more vulnerable to the challenges, environmental challenges. So it's not the matter, it's not that the external factors, 100% that guarantee, the external factors, they guarantee whether we're going to be unhappy, whether we're going to be happy. It's not 100% guaranteed. So oftentimes it is how we deal with them. And some people, they are stronger and that they're not affected as much by external factors. And some people are easily affected by external factors. For example, say one way can be in terms of age. In terms of age. When somebody is young, for example, like the two young children there, very young, oftentimes what happens is that when I personally receive calls from someone from class 10, 11, 12, and a new fresher in college, I make sure that I pick up the phone. I make sure that I pick up the phone. Whereas when there is the 30 year, then I may not pick up the phone because the young minds, they are so vulnerable. Age-wise, they are so vulnerable. They expect the world because, generally speaking, they're always with their parents. Parents give them the maximum love. So as you grow older, particularly after class 12, first year, second year, then you become more independent. And then saying you know the world. You know the world is not the world filled with your parents. The world is very different. You discover that. As you discover that, then say for example, in my case, when I'm a little busy, when somebody calls me and really with the urgent works that I may not pick up because to attend all the calls, then what other things should I do? So that whereas if the call is coming from someone from a very young age, I make it a point that I pick them up. Sometimes some of the young boys and girls, they call me even at 2 a.m. and I'm not going to tell you who they are. They go through the exam tension and then they want to free themselves from exam tension. Then at 2 a.m. they call me and I have to pick up the phone. Because their mind is so vulnerable. They expect the world to be so perfect. And then if not attended, they simply get lost in the world. They feel that they are lost in the world. So that way, we see that age-wise, as the age matures, then the person becomes more mature, resilient to challenges. One. Now, another thing is with the same age, then thinking differs. Okay, one point, there was, in one group, there was a building. In one group is old people's home, old age home, and then somebody passed away, and then another elderly lady started to complain to me, saying that the other people, they are so rude, that person passed away, and then his clothes, they were all just thrown like this without respect. Then I told the elderly woman, I told, if I die, whoever throws my clothes, items, this, that, I don't care. I'm totally disconnected with all those things. I'm even disconnected with my own body. So who cares with all these things? It's not my job. It's their job now to discover all the things. I'm gone. So why should you worry? I told her that. So look, just being obsessed with small things. Now, we see that our thinking determines, with the same age, our thinking determines how vulnerable you are, how strong you are. So with this, what I'm saying is, gate, paragate. This is not external journey. It's an internal journey, the transformation, the journey of transforming one's own mind, where initially we are so prone, we're so vulnerable to the external factors, easily affected. Then, by bringing about transformation in your thinking, by bringing about transformation in your own thinking, that you become stronger, more resilient, more strong, then eventually to the extent that no external factors should affect you, that your mind becomes so strong that nothing within you is there which can attract to make you vulnerable in the face of the external challenges. So at that point, you become like a sun. You become like a sun where no cloud can affect you. People who look at the sun cloud with the cloud in between you and the sun, we are affected, not the sun. Sun is still there, so bright. We are affected from seeing the sun because of the cloud. So eventually, we have this, each one of us, whether you're a believer, whether believers, non-believer, or whether Buddhists, Hindu, Muslims, Christians, Jains, wherever you are, we all have this capacity to know the world. We all have the capacity. We all have the capacity to experience the greatest of the happiness within us. So with this journey is the journey of the mind. And for this, finally, the ultimate source of happiness within us. It is only the mental defilements which obscure this ultimate source of happiness. So this mental defilement is finally to be seen in the form of the ignorance. Ignorance is like darkness. In dark, we don't see the reality. So, how to get rid of the darkness? It is only through introducing light. It is through introducing the light of the wisdom that the darkness of ignorance can be eliminated. The next question, what is this wisdom? The wisdom, by the very definition, is the discerning mind with apprehension of the object tallies with reality. The next question, what is the reality? So this is what we have to explore. Only by exploring what the reality is can we expect to ignite this wisdom. Only by igniting this wisdom can we expect to dispel the darkness. Only then this true nature, incredible, beautiful, ultimate source of happiness within us that will be disclosed fully. And then at that point, you are not going to be affected by any external factors anymore. See, when we reach Paragade, when we reach Paragade, Gade, Paragade, when we reach the third level, Paragade, so particularly in the context of the people who are taking this journey, the journey of the Mahayana path, journey to achieve. It's not that the Mahayana, Hinayana inferior, Mahayana greater. This is not a connotation. If we subscribe ourselves to this kind of understanding that we are greater, we are from Mahayana, others are here, this is totally wrong misconception. The fact that somebody says that we are Mahayana and you are Theravada, which means you are not at all Mahayana. Mahayana is someone who is able to embrace all others. Now you are discarding others. Somebody discarding others, how can that person embrace others? But not embracing others, how can one be Mahayana follower? So therefore, following the genuine Bodhisattva path, wishing to achieve enlightenment, wishing to achieve the greatest state for the benefit of all sentient beings, so that person, in that context, in the context of such a person, when you reach the third level, Paragati, the path of seeing, when you reach the path of seeing, there what happens is that one becomes so strong that you are least affected by external factors, to the extent that the ordinary people like us, we cannot even understand, forget about experiencing it. We cannot possibly imagine that such things can happen. Like what? When we reach such level, say, what do we feel for the time being? We feel vulnerable. In what sense? Say, for example, if you go out, it's like 40 degrees centigrade. Today is what? 44 degrees centigrade or 42, 43. Tomorrow maybe 44. So there, under this scorching heat, we see that we are so vulnerable to the external factors of the scorching heat. And then, okay, that's fine, we can go to the AC place and so forth. And whereas, say, what if there is going to be like a terrorism? Somebody suddenly comes to attack me with the knife and so forth. Then these are the things which we feel as so unbearable. The cut and so forth, actually say like, on such situation. So these are the greatest of the vulnerables we can think of, vulnerabilities that we can face with, that we have to face. So this is something unbearable, we cannot possibly face that. Whereas, if you reach the Gati, Paragati, when you reach the Paragati level, even these things, which we consider as something unimaginably excruciatingly painful. So these, we see that say the physical cut and so forth. Even these, when you reach that level, you are not affected. Let alone that you are affected negatively, let alone you being affected, you feel the bliss, experience of bliss, when the mind is controlled to such a degree. When somebody cuts your body, instead of feeling pain, you feel the bliss. Through a very powerful meditative experience, seeing things as illusion-like and so forth. So there we see that it is extremely important for us, finally, to ignite the light of the wisdom. So light of the wisdom, as we know, that is a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object has with reality. What's the reality? So this question. So now, with this, what we've been discussing thus far is what is the reality? The reality, as we already learned earlier, is that reality of how things are all illusion-like, how things are all dream-like, and to put it in a technically correct, how things are all empty of objectivity, how things are all empty of solidification. So this is what we need to know. And particularly this chapter, this is a very extremely profound chapter to help us unfold as to what this ultimate reality is constituted of. So what we were doing was saying about to see that everything is illusion-like. In what way illusion-like? We need to know that illusion has a connotation, something which is coming from our own deceptive mind. Something coming from our own deceptive mind. This is known as the illusion-like. So now to say that something is coming from our deceptive mind.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Can we call it a liberation from attachment?
Exactly, yeah. So this is what's going to be touched. Exactly. So when we come to sense that things are all coming from our own mind, then mind means it's a subject, which means what is from the object? From the object is empty. Now to put it technically, you can put it either way. Either you say that things are coming from our mind, the fact that things are coming from the subject, or you can say from the object side, things are all empty from the object. So, to speak precisely of what the ultimate reality is, it's the other side, that things are empty from the object side. Emptiness of objectivity of the object. Okay, so for this, from the object, nothing is really there to grasp at, to say that this is it, like a dream. How can we know this? Things are so solid out there. At times, when I speak about these concepts, oftentimes people, the first thing they say is that everything's so real, so solid there. How can you say that these are not real? So this question, this is exactly what we do in the dream. When we're dreaming, we don't know that we're dreaming. In the dream, if I tell you that things are all dreamlike, you will say that what are all these real things? You will touch everything in the dream. Only when you wake up, you will realize that I was totally deceived in the dream, thinking that everything is real. Okay, so you see, from the object side, we need to dissolve the tangibility. The solidification of the object is to be dissolved. Now, the object, there are two things. There are two things. Say, what we actually see is physical things and the mental. There are two things. Combine these two things together, then we see the person as a person. On the basis of these three things, say the matter, mind, and the person. So what actually is there is the matter and the mind. And combined together, we see another entity known as a person, who is also illusion-like. With these three things, then abstract phenomena, they come into being. For example, non-composite space, then the emptiness, all these, say, the abstract phenomena, they come into being. So, we see that all what we experience, the world with which we interact, we see that finally, we see that they can all, what we are seeing, experiencing, they're all somehow connected with the matter mind, right? And then matter mind, we see as something so solidly there, tangible there. Now our job is to dismantle the solidity of the matter, dismantle the solidity of the mind. And what we're doing now is the text we are covering, the part on dismantling the solidity of the matter. Once you know how to dismantle the solidity of the matter, then our job is to dismantle the solidity of the mind with the same application of the reasons as we study here. Okay. In fact, say one of the reasonings which is so famous, so commonly used by the various philosophical systems is Acharya Bandhu's the 20th stanza. From there, this stanza which we have, which we cited in this book. Page 218. Uh-huh. 223. Wow. Okay, 223. Okay, so there are various editions. One is 223 and Tina? 208. Some are in 208, some 223. Okay, so there what we're reading is from 20 stanzas by Acharya Aryadeva, where being simultaneously surrounded by 6 other particles, the central particle is found to have 6 parts. If these 6 parts have the same special dimension, a massive object will conflate into the size of just a minute particle. Okay, this we did finish last time. Now, the same reasoning to dismantle the objectification of the object, objectification of the matter, was used by was used by one of the Tibetan masters. I don't, the name is not striking my mind now. Masters in his text to dismantle the solidification of the mind. Right? So that is used. In fact, what Geshe Singh, yeah. Geshe Singh, in his commentary on the second chapter, the second chapter of Gosamaji Tantra. So there, he used this same reasoning, employed by, rendered by Acharya Damdul. The Geshe Singh, he used that to dismantle the objectification of the mind. Okay, so with this, once we get some understanding of the emptiness by dismantling the objectification of the matter, then see if you can slowly shift it to dismantling the objectification of the mind. Whereas, if you find it overwhelmingly something overwhelming, then I would say to be very careful. Be very careful. At times it could be unbearably scary to meditate on the emptiness of the mind, particularly when you employ reasons. If you don't employ reasons simply by believing that, okay, just as the matter is empty of objective existence, the mind is also empty of objective existence, just to flow like this, the experience of the emptiness of the mind does not come to us. When it does not come, by mentally, by verbally, by mentally saying that if the mind is empty of objective existence, it does help us. It does help us, but the real understanding of how the mind is empty of objective existence may not come. Whereas, if you have to really work, on this to see the emptiness of the objectivity of the mind, there, at times, it could be extremely scary for some people, not necessarily for all. For some, it can be, because particularly since time immemorial till now, our mind is so addicted, so chronically addicted to believing in things to exist objectively. At the ground, for example, say you put this glass there in front of us. On this you put something else. Keep stacking things on top of this. Then can grow in with, just keep stacking more things. At one point, at the top, it can be so vast. Finally, the ground is this glass. However vast at the top, what holds everything is this glass. Likewise, just experience the world, the 5 sensory objects, the 6 mental object, the past, present, and the future. And the whole world we experience. And in the daytime, in dream, every moment, our mind continues to project things as objectively real, which is not really here. And our mind, on one hand, it never stops working to exaggerate things. Every moment by moment, without even for 1 second break, it continues to project things like this, and all deceptively they project things. So we see that our mind is so addicted. It's not just addicted for, like, say, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. It's eons and eons and eons and eons. And how do we know this? Only when we get a glimpse of what emptiness is. When we get a glimpse that things don't exist the way they appear to me. Then you realize that while things don't exist the way they appear to me, but I've been seeing things like this since time immemorial. This is how we've been deceived by our self-grasping ignorance. Now, to end, say, with all these things in terms of time, say, the past, present, future. In terms of the, say, the external world, the five sensory objects, then the, say, the abstract, the composite phenomenon, then the permanent phenomenon. We see that, and then in the daytime, in the nighttime, while we are alive, when we go through the transitional pardo, intermediate state, and then move to the next life, every moment such exaggeration is happening, projection is happening, and we know that subconsciously, we know that finally we need something to grab on. That, in fact, I think it is Descartes, one of the Western philosophers, who said that I don't know about the external world, whether the external world exists or not, I don't know, but I exist because my mind exists. My mind exists because I'm thinking.
One thing, when we are dreaming, is it subconscious or it is just a dream?
Okay, the dream, how does the dream occur?
No, you say it goes away in the, sorry. You say in the morning when we get up and then the dream is gone. I told you before also, I asked you, that when I get up, many dreams I remember right from my childhood. How could that be possible?
Remember, or they come again?
No, I remember they come again, but they are very
real
to me, that as it is happening in just front of me, and I have not forgotten just a bit of it. What is that like?
The dreams are so vivid.
Pardon?
The dreams are so vivid,
yeah,
so real. These things happen. So this is more in line with one, prophetic dreams versus non-prophetic dreams. Prophetic dreams meaning oftentimes the dreams are very vivid and they mean something. They tell you something. They tell you something of the future. And particularly the vivid dreams, oftentimes they're somehow connected with our past experiences.
But many times you dream a place which you have
Never been.
never thought of or never imagined. But it is so clear in front of you in the dream. And then after the dream is over, you are awake. It is still in the mind.
Exactly.
Then
so this is what I'm saying.
Then what do you call
This is connected, very likely these are connected with your past lives. Past life, the experiences. Okay, with this what I'm saying is that, say, somehow, like all these things, just expanded from the bottom, expanded, and then we see that finally they're all grounded on this tiny object at the base. Likewise, we may say, I'm wrong. But I saw it this way, but I realized that it's not true, this is wrong. Finally, what is really there, deep inside us, we have the feeling that my mind exists objectively. My mind exists objectively. This is the worst thing. So for our belief in objective existence, that things are so real, finally we see that finally it's a mind which we see as so real. When this mind is to be dismantled as objectively real, oftentimes we may feel as though like we are drowned, we are thrown into the middle of the ocean. Thrown in the middle of the ocean, you will try to grab at something, there's nothing there to grab onto. Then you become so vulnerable. You want something to grab onto, right? Whereas what is that thing which is there to grab onto for us at the moment is the mind. The mind is objectively real, right? When you lose this, then you see that there's nothing there to grab onto, and then it's as though like you're drowning, right? Okay, so this is a very scary experience that we should be very careful. You can attempt to meditate on the emptiness of the flower, emptiness of the other people, emptiness of particularly at times, the objects which can potentially trigger some emotions, sadness, a little bit of attachment, a little bit of anger, a little bit of, say, the excitement and so forth. What triggers such emotions? You can think about the emptiness of that object. That's fine. And at times you can also think about the emptiness of yourself. That's also fine. Then when you work with the emptiness of the mind, that is quite scary. If you get there, it's quite scary. If it does happen, the best thing for you to do is once in a while do the meditation on the emptiness of the mind, and then other times you do it on other objects. And then, while meditating on the emptiness of the mind, if you really get there, you see that experience of the emptiness of the mind and experience of the emptiness of other things, effect is much different. In terms of subtlety, it's the same, but the effect is different. It's for this reason that in the sutras, and particularly Tantra, there's a mention of the need for us to meditate on the emptiness of the mind. So for this, first of all, in order to meditate on the emptiness of the flower, we need to know what the flower is. Likewise, in order to meditate on the emptiness of the mind, we need to have the experience of what mind is. For this, the meditation on the awareness of the awareness meditation would be helpful. Okay. And then again, I'm warning you for the meditation awareness. It is not an easy task. One should be extremely careful, and even if you get instruction from any teacher, make sure that don't forget to do things. Be kind towards yourself. Be wisely kind towards yourself. At times, these meditations could be equally very risky. Not scary, very risky. Awareness meditation is not scary, it's risky. Now the awareness, after the awareness meditation, if you get it, you got through the risk, all these things, then you finally get the awareness very clearly. Then you go to the unity of the subjective clear light and the objective clear light. Subjective clear light, which you can experience through the awareness meditation, then bring it in unison with the objective clear light, which is the emptiness of this awareness which you are aware of now. Okay, so the second part may not be risky, it is scary. The first one is risky, it's not scary. Second one is not risky, it's very scary. Right? Okay, so there one should be extremely careful. For the first one, awareness meditation, I would personally suggest that a person must be exposed to Buddhist psychology studies so well, unless you know what exactly is mind, how the mind works, the different aspects of the mind, is very risky. In fact, this is a very strong warning that I'm giving, because at one point, as my personal practice, I started to do that. Awareness meditation, I started to do that. While doing that, I got a feeling that is quite risky. That your mind can easily go into dullness. It's very risky. Mind can easily go into dullness. Dullness meaning when you don't see the object. Because the mind is so subtle. When you don't get it, then without the object it becomes like sleepy. It becomes like dullness. Then if you remain in that state for too long, you are accumulating darkness. Accumulation of dullness, it is accumulating a very serious cause for taking an unhealthy birth next time. That was the feeling that I got. Oh, it's quite scary. Not scary, risky. It's quite risky. Then while I was doing that, while I was thinking like this, then somebody text messaged me. So just casually text messaged me just compilation of the, not really text message, I think, what is that? More like email, compilation of the sayings of the great saints. Exactly during that time, I just browsed through this. There was a mention that, okay, it was Sakya Pandita, 12th or 13th century, great Tibetan master, and who was one of the greatest contributors of the literary world, Tibetan literary world, the literary world in Tibet. So Sakya Pandita, when I read that, he said that although there are many people who claim to be practitioners of Mahamudra, but there are equally many people amongst them accumulating negative karma to take unhealthy births next time. Just reading it, just struck what came to my mind the earlier 2 days, and what he said was just identical. So therefore, since then, I was warning, very strongly warning the people that if you really want to do this practice, awareness meditation, I would very much encourage you to study Buddhist psychology so well. With this, you will know how the mind works. One, segregating the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. Within mental consciousness, what depends on the generic image and what is free from the generic image. Within the mind, the mental consciousness, again you see what is what is the mind which functions to create the stability. What is the mind which functions to just make it loose? What functions to make the mind very concentrated? What functions to make the mind penetrate? Like this, all these the functions of the mind we have to study. With this, slowly then you will gain command as to how the mind works, what the nature of the mind. Once you know this, then if you do the meditation, and of course the teacher who is to guide you into this must have total understanding of the mind, the Buddhist psychology. Otherwise cannot articulate what is to be guided. This is the problem. So therefore it's very risky, very risky. Even somebody take the charge of giving this instruction in public is very scary. It's very scary. So can be given the guidance, but the warning must be given. And then for the individuals, it is very important that one must study Buddhist psychology so well if you really want to practice this. And if you're successful, this is an incredibly powerful practice, no doubt. Okay, with this, page 26, stanza 214. So at the moment, what we were doing was dismantling the objectivity of the object. Dismantling the objectivity of the object. And one particle's position is not asserted also that of another. Thus, it is not asserted that cause and effect are the same size. Say this, for example, say this flower. This flower is the conglomeration of millions of atoms. Millions of atoms come together to form this flower. So these individual atoms, when separate, they were the causes, and one is conglomerated. What is the combination that becomes the result? And the combination is this beautiful flower. This is the combination. This is the result. So it says that one particle's position is not asserted as also that of another. Earlier, the individual particles, they're very tiny. Now the effect is so big. Asserted as also that of another. So the individual tiny particles and the resultant big flower, these two are not identical. These are very different. Thus, it is not asserted that cause and effect are the same size. Cause and effect, these two are not size. These two are not same size. These two are very different size, different sizes. But if the particle particles exist, then as we explained earlier, the particles, they should conflate. From what we've learned earlier, they should conflate. If they conflate, what happens? Two particles, they conflate, they become one. And then however millions of particles you bring together, they will all conflate to one size, which means initial size and the end result should be of the same size. But in actuality, this is not what is seen in reality. 215. Whatever has an eastern side also has an eastern part. Those whose particles have sides admit that they are not particles. Okay, these are the reasonings extremely helpful for us to activate our faculty of discrimination. Right? So how? Okay, let's say this flower is made of millions of atoms. This flower is made of millions of the millions of atoms. You just randomly pick up one particle from the middle, somewhere middle. We just pick one particle. Just point to that particle. So that particle randomly pointed to one particle. So that particle must be surrounded by minimum 6 particles. Must be surrounded by 6 particles. How? Say, okay, let's say this is a particle. Say we randomly just point to this particle. Right? So this particle has a top, bottom, east, west, north, south. East, west, north, south, 4. Top, bottom, 6. There are 6 directions. So there are 6 particles surrounding this particle, 6 particles. Now it says 215. Whatever has an eastern side also has an eastern part, which means that there's one particle there. This is a central particle. There's one particle here on the eastern side. So from this we see that this should have an eastern part. Eastern side meaning the atom which is next to the central particle towards the east. So the fact that there's one particle which is nearer to this eastern side, eastern part, and further away from the western part, we see that there should be, because of the presence of this particle, there should be eastern part here. Because the presence of the particle on the west side, there should be a western part. Then likewise, north, south, top, bottom. Now we not only see 6 particles surrounding this, we also see 6 parts within it. 6 parts. If there are 6 parts, then this cannot be partless. It has 6 parts. It's not partless. There are many parts. 215. Whatever has an eastern side also has an eastern part. Meaning, eastern side, whatever the central particle has an eastern side, a particle on the eastern side, which means that this particle, central particle, has an eastern part. Those whose particles have sides, because that now we see that it has six particles on the 6 sides. We see that it should have 6 parts within. 6 parts within. Those whose particles have sides admit that they are not partless because they have 6 parts. They are not partless. 216. The front takes up, the back relinquishes. Whatever does not have both of these motions. Okay, let's say that I have to walk and cross this line, cross the line. So when we walk, we see that this is the front part and this is hind part. This is the back. This is the front. Now, back means is further away from the line. So as the front, the front takes up as you move towards the line, like as you cross. What was seen as back further away from the line is coming closer towards the line. It says the front takes up, the back relinquishes as a back. The back relinquishes as a back. Whatever does not have both of these motions is not something which moves. If when the front takes up, if the back does not come closer towards the where you're going, then there's no motion. Motion, by the very definition, is that is that they should have two parts, one the front and one the behind. 217. That which does not have a front, nor any middle, and which does not have a rear, being invisible, who will see it? If there is no front, no behind, and no middle, then who's going to see that object moving? So the movement makes no sense. On 218, the effect destroys the cause, therefore the cause is not permanent. Alternatively, where the cause exists, the effect does not. Okay, when the effect arises, what happens to the cause? The cause automatically disappears. Only by the cause disappearing, the effects can come into being. If the cause continues to exist, then the effect will never get the chance to arise. So, effect destroys the cause, therefore the cause is not permanent. The moment the effect comes into being, the cause disappears. Cause degenerates or disappears. When the cause disappears, how can the cause be permanent? Alternatively, where the cause exists, effect does not. If the cause is there, if the cause is permanent, then the cause should be always there. If the cause is always there, then what of the effect? Effect will never get the chance to arise if it cannot possibly come into being.
So when you said from the perspective of cause and effect, they both. From the Prasangika view, you said cause and effect both relate to each other.
Mutually related.
Mutually related. So here when it says the effect destroys the cause, I think I'm confused between this sequentiality and this mutual relation. If you can please distinguish it for me.
Sequentiality.
So sequentiality is maintained between
Yes.
cause and effect. It's just that they're mutually related. But then Prasangika is saying that they're mutually designated. So both, do cause and effect arise simultaneously?
Which means we have to study the lower school's position first. Right? So, say, according to lower schools, effect and cause, these two are simultaneous or these two are sequential? Sequential, right? Okay. So whatever we study in the lower schools will be taken to Prasangika, right? We will not dismantle them. Prasangika always only looks for nuances. One. Number two, it adds to make it richer. Yeah? What is accepted there in lower schools will be accepted in Prasangika also. So the sequentiality is the same between the two things. Now, say the future and the present and the past, these three are never together, yet these three are mutually dependent, according to Prasangika. Right? So the mutuality of dependence is accepted even in the case of the sequential things. Okay.
The effect destroys the cause. I'm not able to understand it. I was just thinking of
Chodhima.
I was just thinking of an example where, let's say, a seed is planted and it is surrounded by space. And as the seed grows into a seedling and into a tree, the space is one of the causes of the tree growing, but the space itself does not get destroyed. It remains.
Very good question. Okay. The question is that for the seed to grow into seedling, into a tree, we need a space at the time of the seed. Not only the seed is the cause of the seedling, the water, the manure, the space, they are all equally the causes of the seedling and the tree eventually. If this were the case, then okay, the seed gives rise to the seedling, the seed destroys, it's fine, it's destroyed. But the space still remains. Space is not destroyed, so how can I account for this? And without the causes destroyed, then the effects cannot come into being. Okay, good question. Anyone who can help me? Deja, you want to help? Or you want to destroy?
I want to help.
Huh?
I want to
Help. Okay, please help me. Yeah.
Can we make a distinction between substantial cause and
You are not
contribute-
helping me, you are harming me. In a way, what you are saying is that for substantial cause is true, it has to be destroyed. The cooperative cause can still remain there. This is what you want to say. You are harming me, not helping me. Okay, anyone who can help me? I'm very stern. I'm very strict by saying that cause and effect with respect to one object, with respect to a specific object, say the seedling. With respect to the seedling, or with respect to the seedling, the cause, should it be any cause of that seedling, should necessarily come to a halt or come to destruction when the seedling arises, be it substantial cause or cooperative cause. This is my standpoint. But how can someone help me when this question asks, what about the space? The space, Nazar, please, you should help me. You should actually help me, right? Yes. The question is, help the space remains the same.
So initially, before the shoot arises, the space is unobstructed.
Yes.
And once the shoot comes into being, that unobstructed space becomes obstructed space, which means that space does not remain the way it was before. So there is a change.
Okay, so say the seed is very small and the seedling is, say for example, a banyan tree, right? Say it grew to a banyan tree. Earlier there's an enormous empty space there. Now with the banyan tree growing there, all the space is gone because of the banyan tree. So there's a change there. Even with the space. Okay, that really helps. Thank you. Anyone else on the Ankitla you want to give? Huh? Similar. Okay, similar.
I'm not convinced.
Okay, the Badriji is not convinced. So
My argument is that even if the object comes into existence,
the space
the
is still
space
there.
is still there.
Exactly. So now this is coming from the architect's point of view. Only having some exposure to architect can resolve this. Sanjeevji, can you give answer?
I'm mulling over it.
Okay. Anyone who likes to the Ankitla? You have some architecture experience now? Okay. Let's say, for example, this morning, the group discussion, they were discussing about the mother and the daughter, mother and the child. So the mother and child sitting together, are these two cause and effect? These two are not cause and effect, right? Sitting together. Conventionally, in a loose sense, we can say these two, the cause and effect. But in actuality, sitting together, cause and effect can never be simultaneous. The simultaneity of cause and effect is accepted by, say, the lower school, by Bhaskar, and to some extent by the scripture follower Chitmatra. Scripture follower Chitmatra with one specific example, not with all. The Chitmatrans, scripture Chitmatra, there are so many divisions. Scripture follower Chitmatrans.
Not followed.
The scripture follower Chitmatrans, there is one school of thought who believe that cause and effect can be simultaneous. Not saying that all cause and effect should be simultaneous. Cause and effect can be simultaneous, right?
Can I ask you something again?
Okay, first let me finish this. Say this school, what they say is that they speak about Alivijnan, the repository consciousness, Alivijnan and imprints, right? Alivijnan and imprints. Say imprints and the Alivijnan, which the two of which are simultaneous. These two are cause and effect. Yet simultaneous. This is the position of the This is position of the Chedma twins. No, he understands literature, therefore he's enjoying it. Yes, he's enjoying. Yeah, very good. Let me enjoy. Okay, so now Vaibhashika accepts cause and effect to be simultaneous. Simultaneity.
To common person, how do I explain cause? Cause has got many meanings. This particular cause we are discussing about, how do we explain to a common man?
That's a good question. How can somebody explain cause to someone? So this is a very serious question. This is a very serious question. This is what is being discussed in Pramana Vartika.
Yeah.
Right? So for example, say let's say for example, and there is apple seed. Apple seed lies on the table. Apple seed lies on the table. Right? Okay. So this apple seed, or let's say this water. Let's say this water. This water, if we say that, is this the cause of mango tree in Argentina? Right? Say somebody may drink this water. Right? Somebody may drink this water, and this water will be evaporated in the air. And the air, from the air, the vapor is sucked in by the cloud, and rain showers, and the grass grows, and the grass is eaten by someone, and then the animal has some droppings, and the droppings give rise to another grass or another fruit, and the fruit exported to Argentina. Right? So like this, from this point of view, is this a cause of and then the fruit was eaten by Messi, and the Messi, then the next moment the Messi go to play football. So the Messi playing football, this water, is this a cause of the Messi playing football? This question, all this question arises. So if you say yes, then everything becomes the cause of everything. So what's wrong with this bad thing? There's no bad thing. Bad thing becomes the cause of good thing. Good thing becomes the cause of the bad thing, right? If you say no, then what's the demarcation? This is a very difficult question, and answered by Acharya Dharmakirti in Pramana Vartika, right? Okay. So this, I think we are going to have Pramana Vartika in London Master's course, chapter 2. So therefore it will be there. So basically the idea is that the cause is something which without, for example, the dry seed, apple seed, placed on the table, as long as it remains on the table, it will never become closer towards the germination into a plant. Only when it comes in contact with the water, soil and so forth, then the germination takes place. So which contributes to the germination in that sense, only then one serves as a cause. Before that is not a cause. This is what is said by Acharya Dharmakirti very clearly. Okay, so we are saying something. Badriji's question, okay, is the space. Although I'm not an architect, but when I was very young, particularly age, I think class 7, 8, 9, I was thinking of becoming an architect. So from that point of view, I can explain something. Right? Okay, the space. Although the banyan tree grows, but the space remains the same. Space here, if you're talking about the visible space, visible space, then is the composite space. Composite space falls under the impermanence. Impermanence means it's a change. So the first moment, the space with the water, with the manure, with the soil, with sunlight, all these things, and the seed. Then the next moment it gives rise to the shoot. Right? Now the soil also turns to the second moment. Space also turns to the second moment. Second moment of the space, second moment of the second moment of the seed, second moment of the soil, second moment of the sunlight, and the first moment of the shoot, these two are simultaneous. Right? So the first moment of the space is the cause of the first moment of the shoot, and the second moment of the space is not the cause of the first moment of the shoot. Right? So therefore, first moment of the space is already dismantled. It doesn't remain the same. It has already changed to the second moment. Now, in the case of substantial cause, it has to disappear to transform into the result. But in the case of the cooperative causes, they may not change into the effect as the effect in the form of the shoot, but it is already changed. It does not remain the same. Okay. You got it? Okay. Now let's see. 218, I think will be that. 219. A permanent thing that is obstructed is not seen anywhere. Therefore, the Buddhas never say the particles are permanent. So, a permanent thing that is obstructive. Obstructive meaning like particles. The particles, the wall, the trees. In other words, something which is matter. Something which is matter and as a permanent is never seen. It is for this reason that the Buddha said what? All composite things are impermanent. They are particles. Therefore, the Buddha never said that the particles are permanent. If liberation, which is other than what binds, is bound and means to existed, it should not be called liberation, since nothing is produced from it. Okay, Four Noble Truths. If liberation is the truth of the, what is liberation? The truth of the cessation of suffering. Is other than what binds. What binds is the cause of suffering. Is bound is the truth of suffering. The means is the path leading to the cessation. Right? If liberation, which is the third truth of the cessation of suffering, which is other than what binds the cause of suffering, is bound, this truth of suffering, and the means, the truth of the path leading to cessation, existed. If the liberation existed as separate from them as a functional object. Liberation is what? Okay, anyone who would like to explain what liberation is? What is liberation? Freedom from suffering. What is freedom from suffering? Where is it? Where is it? Huh? Mental state? Huh? Mental state which is free of afflictions, free of self-grasping ignorance.
Get independent.
Huh?
Get independent. To get out of the thing which it has been holding it.
Okay, become independent of the afflictions which hold you to samsara, right? Okay. Now, if liberation is to be thought of as a functional phenomenon, as something tangible there, something different from what binds and what is bound, and the means to get out of the bondage, it should not be called liberation, since nothing is produced from it. Meaning that with the liberation, oftentimes there are some traditions who believe that nirvana or liberation, nirvana is a place, it's a paradise. There's one paradise place known as nirvana. If you take birth there, then you are freed. You don't have to suffer anymore. So you have to go to take birth there. So that place is like an umbrella put upside down. Yeah, this is a description of nirvana place. Umbrella put upside down, which is like a container. Right? Umbrella, have you seen an umbrella? When put upside down, what is it like? It's like a container. It's like a container. So when you go into that, and then you are into nirvana. So this is what some philosophical schools they believe. Right? Okay. If it's something like this, it should not be called liberation, since nothing is produced from it. Okay. Because say that what binds is not an external object, not a functional, not an external object. It is your own mental glaciers or the afflictions. Afflictions bind us, karmas bind us. Now you remove the glaciers, and that is liberation. You don't have to take birth anywhere. So liberation, if you think of something like in separate entity as a functional object, then independent of these three things within us, there should be something entity there. As long as you don't reach them, there's no point. Even if you remove your afflictions, still you are not liberated. Right? But in actuality, such a thing is nowhere to be seen. It is, since nothing is produced from it, there's no such functional thing as a nirvana, as a separate entity which can give rise to another result. We don't see such a thing. In other words, say there are two persons. You go to enjoy a beautiful garden. And both of them are putting on glasses. One put on a very clean glass, and the other put on a very dirty glass. So when they go to the garden, Mughal garden, right? Mughal garden. When you go to the Mughal garden, then one person will enjoy a lot, and the other person will not at all enjoy, seeing that it's all very dirty, flowers not being well taken care of, and so forth. So why one person enjoys so much, and why the other person does not enjoy? Because one person sees the flower as so beautiful, and the other person saw the flower as very dull. What made one person so beautiful and one person see the dull? Were they looking at the same flower or looking at two different flowers? They are looking at the same flower. What makes one to see beautiful, one makes one to see dull, is the lens through which one is looking. If the lens through which one is looking is dirty, you will invariably see things as dirty. Whereas the lens through which you are looking at is very clean, you will see the clean thing as clean. Right? Likewise, nirvana, samsara, is how you look at it. If you look at it with a very clean lens of your own mind, you see things as so different, so pure. If you look at things with a very dirty mind, the way we have now, then we see things as so imperfect. Right? So, things seen through the dirty lens is samsara. Things seen through a clean lens is nirvana. There's no external nirvana out there. There's no external samsara out there. It's simply how you see this. Right? So it's just, if you really want to achieve nirvana, we can't expect external object there as a nirvana. We have to cleanse our mind, cleanse the lens of our mind. We see nirvana is there. Okay.
Compounded space, the way you explained it, that was really, mind-blowing, the fact that space is always kind of married to time in some sense. So there's one moment of space followed by the second moment of space. But it led me to think, last time we were discussing time, and you defined it as a temporal gap between two events. So if we consider pure space, where there is no event taking place, then what are the two events which help you perceive time?
Okay, very good question. Okay, in case if there's no event at all, it's a pure space. What space? Composite, non-composite. Compounded or non-compounded?
It's compounded.
Okay. Compounded or what?
Space and time.
Particle?
No. Okay. No, what I'm saying, space. So for example, say the flower is compounded. It's compounded with atoms, molecules, and so forth. Likewise, the space is compounded what? One.
Parts of space.
One. Now another thing is just saying, let's say hypothetically, there's no matter at all, there's no mind at all, it's just the open space, right? Wherever you look at, it's just open space, that's it, right? Now, whether or not such a thing exists, this is the question, right? Okay. It is only with relation to light, it is only with relation to darkness that light makes sense. It is only with relation to the defiled beings that Buddha makes sense. Right? Likewise, it is only with say the non-space, like tangible objects. Only when the tangible objects are there, that space makes sense. In the absence of the tangibilities, what we consider as space, this concept will dissolve. Right? And then, same time. Time is actually tied with the time, the very definition of the time is tied with the changing objects. Only when there's a change, then the time makes sense. So where there's no matter, there's no mind, it's just the open space, then the time does not exist. Because time is tied with the changing object. And if you say that even this space doesn't change, then in the absence of change, time does not exist. Right? So in the absence of time, then what you speak of as a composite space, that makes no sense. Okay, these are the things that we need to, particularly, say, when you speak about the light and the darkness. Likewise, enlightened beings and the unenlightened beings. And likewise, happiness and the miseries. In the absence of miseries, happiness makes no sense. If you don't believe, some of the children, their parents have to worry that they are not drinking milk. And some of the children, they don't even have water to drink. Those who do not have even water to drink, you give milk. This is the best of the treat. And if you give an ordinary candy to a rich child, we'll say, what is this? We'll throw this away. For a very child from a remote village, you give ordinary candy. This is elixir. Right? It's the same sweet. One person tasted is so delicious. And for the child of a very rich family, you put it in his mouth, it's not at all delicious, it's just so bad. Right? It's so relative. Right? It's so relative. So therefore, the happiness and miseries, if there is no misery at all, existing in this universe, if there's no imperfection at all, perfection makes no sense. 100%. And experientially, you can feel the same thing. Only when you are confronted with people who are always creating nuisance on you all the time. Then when you see someone, a neighborhood, where nobody bothers about you, right? Nobody comes to help you, nobody comes to harm you, still you feel it's so peaceful. Whereas, if you're just from the birth, if you're in that place, you'll never appreciate the peace there. right? So these are things that we need to think of. Okay, this is a very important concept. If we can really digest these concepts, you see that this whole world, why people are struggling so much for power, why people are struggling so much for enormous wealth. And of course, enormous wealth to help other beings is amazing, right? Struggling for so much of enormous wealth, not at all. Think corruption. And what for? The person's only one belly, only 10 fingers, right? Cannot eat all the food of the 5-star hotel. Cannot eat that. Person will die. Even 3 persons' food, the person eats it, the person will die. Belly is just one. And fingers, the rings, golden, the word diamond rings, only 10 fingers. And each of the 10 fingers you put diamonds is very odd. You'll see that you're something must be wrong with you. Right? So, all this money, they're just illusion. In your mind, you have the feeling of satiation, that I have wealth. Right? So there we see that if you see in that direction, and imagine, everyone has $1 billion. Everybody has $1 billion. A billionaire makes no sense. Right? So therefore the billionaires, they become, I'm a billionaire, becomes because of the poor people. It's only because of the presence of the poor people that the billionaires, they get the privilege, that feeling that I'm a billionaire. If everyone has it, it's nothing. Right? So if we can really reflect on these points, you will see that we can transcend the ordinary people's thinking. What is driven by these thoughts, right? And then when you see someone who is very rich, then you become a little intimidated. Who is a little more powerful, you feel intimidated. Like this, which means that we are being ensnared by the conventional norms. We have to transcend. How do we see that we are transcended? We have transcended those things. Even if one is so poor, but if you confront with a billionaire, you just feel compassion towards the person rather than envy. And even if you have no power, you see the most powerful person, the president, prime minister, whatever, you feel compassion rather than feeling envious. If that happens, and that you are not at all affected, by no means you are affected, which means you have transcended. So the ease is there. Why? Why ease? Your mind is not disturbed. You don't feel any awe there in this. So this is one benefit, to see things that only with the two sides, that things make sense. In the absence of two sides, things don't make sense. Okay. Okay, 2 to 1. In Nirvana, there are no aggregates, and they cannot be a person. But Nirvana is there for one who is not seen in Nirvana. Okay, so we'll do this the next time. We'll stop here for today. Okay, 309. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of the Dharma and the beings of the snowland. You are the lotus soul that Tenzin Gyatso, we supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the part of the truth of the three jewels. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Aramanji Shri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even in the course of my life.